pause in the fighting in Syria is holding for the most part, and because of that, the United Nations says it's confident it will start delivering humanitarian aid to 1.7 million people trapped in besieged areas. The UN says food, water and medical supplies should reach more than 150,000 people in the next 5 days. It's also calling for all sieges to be lifted immediately. But there are reports that suggest the cessation of hostilities has been violated. Activists say military jets hit the town of Talabisa in Homs province on Sunday. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says more airstrikes killed 3 people and wounded dozens in 2 towns in Idlib province. And the town of Katab Ajbal in Aleppo province was also targeted, but so far the aircraft involved have not been identified. Well, let's get more on this from Anelise Borges, who's live for us in Gaziantep on the Turkish-Syrian border. So, Anelise, 3 days into the cessation, peace is holding, and now aid must get through. What are the agencies, humanitarian agencies, doing to make sure that that happens?
Well, the UN says it sees the cessation of hostilities as a window of opportunity, and it is organizing to deliver aid to 154,000 people over the next 5 days. It is organizing that, of course, in partnership with other aid organizations on the ground in Syria, and they are planning to reach besieged cities across Syria over the next 5 days. There's also a plan, the UN says is said to be discussing with warring parties to reach as many as 1.7 million people who are living in hard-to-reach areas across Syria. They are discussing, negotiating with different sides of the conflict so that they can reach those people. There's a real push here for humanitarian aid to reach those in need inside Syria. The UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, has said that much more needs to be done to help those people who are living in desperate conditions in besieged areas. The UN estimates 500,000 people are in need of help in besieged areas across Syria, and the UN estimates that some of them, as many as hundreds or perhaps thousands, have already starved to death.
And Anelise, what can you tell us about those reports of violations to the ceasefire? Are we in danger here of sliding back into full-scale hostilities?
Well, the Syrian High Negotiations Committee has written a letter to the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. In that document, they accuse the Syrian regime, Russia, Iran, and other foreign armed units to attack several attacks in their rebel-held positions, saying that those consist serious violations of the cessation of hostilities. They say that if those attacks don't stop, well, the cessation of hostilities will collapse, and that will compromise the peace talks, the peace negotiations scheduled to resume in Geneva next week. The opposition says it hopes the truce can last forever, and it says it's the United States' responsibility to intervene and diffuse tensions. Now, this is the 3rd day of the cessation of hostilities. The 2 first days, we have heard reports, accusations from both sides of violations, but